Thank you very much and allowing me to start our meeting tonight. We have a lot of things we need to cover, so we ask for your patience and your indulgence. First on our list is that we have a proposed finding for support of an exemption, and our Director of Finance, Cheryl Northam, is going to share those comments and directions.
So the CMGC form of procurement is one, is one that we have used for the last several seismic projects. It is considered an alternative form of procurement. Traditionally, for a large construction project, we would go out, we'd have an architect or an engineer design the project, then we would bid it out, and then it would be billed. They call that a design bid build. With a CMGC, that stands for contract manager, general contractor, and you bring the contractor in early in the process, because what we're saying here is we have a grant in approximately $2 million to do seismic enhancements at Eastwood Elementary School. And so that's what we have to spend. We can't spend any more. So they work with our engineering firm, which we'll approve tonight, to value engineer the project so that we can do as many seismic enhancements for our $2 million bid as possible. So that requires board approval. We have had a set of findings that we have run by legal counsel to say that it is still a competitive form of procurement. We will still obtain proposals, and it has certain other assertions that lend itself to say this is a worthwhile method of procurement. I did want to talk really quickly about what can seismic funds be used for, because we've been fortunately very successful in getting several million dollars over the last few years. Seismic funds are to do seismic enhancements. Oftentimes if the floor in the gym is going to be damaged because of this, you can use your grant funds to replace that floor. But for the most part, when we do have those enhancements, the district has paid for them out of our maintenance funds, like the new bleachers at Fremont. And that's not covered because seismic is to be used for those expenditures directly related to seismic enhancement. So do you guys have any questions for me, or does anybody have any questions about the CMGC method of procurement?
I would move that we adopt the findings that are set out in the memo from Cheryl to us dated December 14th, endorsed by Cadence, our lawyer. I read through it and I realized from our experience previously with this sort of a process, I think that the findings are appropriate. I'll second.
Before we, I have a motion and a second. Before we vote on that, we are required to see if there's any public participation with regard to just this one issue. Seeing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Let the record show the motion carried. We will now adjourn that portion of our meeting, and we will open up our regularly scheduled board meeting. We welcome each of you to our board meeting tonight. The first item on the agenda is the pledge of allegiance to the flag. If you'll all stand, and I'll lead us in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Review of the agenda.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I appreciate that. Great to see everybody tonight. Great to see the board tonight. We have added item number 6. It's a new item on your agenda. That is a consideration of the proposed 2023-2024 school calendar. We also want to let you know that one of our students, Dexter Gray from Joe Lane, is unable to make it tonight. He has an athletic event, but we are excited for our kids and staff that are here tonight. And then in terms of communication, Directors Bishop and Krimitz are excused for tonight. We expect to see Director Larson soon. She's helping out with the swim event, RHS swim event at the YMCA, and hope to see her soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will have the student representative report.
So leadership has been pretty busy this week. We have been delivering birthday cards, and these are to make students feel more included. So that's been going really good. This week is also our annual Winter Week. Winter Week at RHS includes dress up days, lunchtime activities, and we have the school decorated. These have been going really well. I ran a lunchtime activity today and had a lot of student participation, so that was really nice to see. We have also been moving forward with middle school connections. Last week, we had a group go to both Fremont and Joe Lane Middle School. It went really well, and our goal was to get a feel for what those middle school leaderships are like and to show them a little bit what RHS leadership is about. We had a lot of great conversations with them, and we're excited to have more meetings with them. We are also doing our LEAD Awards, and we are getting our Google form ready to nominate the students we see doing great things around our school.
Stuff around our school, the fall play where it was Murder on the Orient Express, it went really good. A lot of people came and everyone was like super involved with it. The mock trial was recently invited to U of O for their first mock trial competition, and as a team they got best sportsmanship award, and then lots of other students got all sorts of different types of awards. Orange R started their new broadcast and has been putting a broadcast out every week, just updating the students on the weather, sports, and other activities around the school. Link Crew is working hard, making activities to make the freshmen more included RHS. Last Wednesday, many members from Link Crew went to the freshman advisory classes and did a lesson on time management. Robotics meet was on Saturday at Fremont, and Aries placed second, Scorpio placed fourth, and Leo placed 15th. Their next tournament is at Roseburg High School, January 17th. And then we had a band concert yesterday, and that went really good. And we have a choir concert today.
On to sports. Winter sports at RHS have officially begun. Girls basketball has a home game on Friday, and boys basketball has a home game on Tuesday. Swim, wrestling, basketball, they're off to a really great start. And students and teachers are really excited for winter break. And right after that, we'll start preparing for finals week.
Excellent job. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We realize it takes a little bit of extra effort to come prepared, and I'm sure you're quite nervous to be in front of a group, but you're doing a very good job. Thank you very much. Now we're going to have a student and staff recognition, and my vice chair is not here, so I'm going to do both tonight.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to start out with student recognition. And we have from Fir Grove Elementary, a fifth grader, Balin Buffer. Bring your family and everybody.
Everybody comes out.
There we go. Give me, why don't you get his plaque for him? Come back. Come back. We have a plaque for him and a McDonald's gift card that we're very grateful for the Corporation of McDonald's to share those. Let me share with you what I have been told about Balin. Fir Grove is honored to announce Balin Belfer as the recognized student of the month. Balin has impressed those who know him with his work ethics, honesty, compassion, and his empathy towards others. He has been a quiet leader in the Fir Grove community and brings joy to others with a great sense of humor, thoughtful contributions to class discussion, and a genuine kindness that is shared with everyone around him. Fir Grove is so proud of you. Congratulations. You want to take the picture? Come back, take the picture, take your picture. Thank you so much. Our next honoree is from Roseburg High School, an 11th grader, Simone Russ. Family and friends gather around. Again, we have a plaque and a McDonald's gift card for her. Simone is a 4.0 student known for being positive in her approach to learning and her interactions with her peers. Determined to be successful, Simone has asked clarifying questions, shares accurate answers, communicates well with her peers, and works diligently on the assignments on hand. She encourages others to be successful too, and can often be heard helping students when they get stuck on a problem. Simone has taken many advanced classes while also participating in athletics. Her plans for the future include attending college and majoring in business. Simone is well deserving of this reward. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We have Crystal Apple Award for our staff, and the first honoree tonight is Jill Clark, the school trainer from Eastwood Elementary. Nobody's coming up with
Yes,
you?
yes, please, come on up here. Everybody.
Everybody gets to come up.
Jill is an amazing member of the Eastwood staff, whether she is helping out with children or being a great friend to confide in. She works diligently to help with all children and starts every behavioral situation with grace. Jill will help with any kid at any time. And at the end of the day, she's also up for a funny prank or a lively chat. Jill helps make Eastwood a happy, fun, and enjoyable place to be. Congratulations, Jill. Your Crystal Apple Award says wit and sass and the patience of his face.
Great job.
Thank you, thank you. Our next honoree is Wanda Harris, a DLC instructor and assistant from Fir Grove Elementary. Let me share. Wanda's compassion, patience, consistently calm demeanor, and tender heart are appreciated at Fir Grove. Her daily presence in the classroom helps to maintain consistency for the student and staff as well. Wanda's calm demeanor, even in times of great stress, helps to keep those in the classroom calm and focused. She always has time for a hug, and the tenderness with which she treats her student does not go unnoticed, nor does her unlimited supply of patience. Fir Grove and Wanda's students are very lucky to have her, and so are we. Congratulations, Wanda. Your Crystal Apple says your compassion, patience, consistently calm demeanor, and tender heart are appreciated at Fir Grove. The next honoree tonight is Nancy Neal from Eastwood. Nancy Neal is a third grade teacher. Nancy is always working hard to build positive relationships with staff, students, and families. She has a growth mindset and is always looking for ways to continue to grow and learn as an educator. Her positive impact on students makes them feel like they belong and leave her classroom stronger than when they came in. Congratulations, Nancy. Your Crystal Apple inscription says loves all her students and teaches from the heart. Congratulations. And the last honoree tonight is Kristen Shiner, a DLC teacher here at Fir Grove. The Fir Grove family sees Christian's love, devotion, patience, and determination, and loves her for it. Each day she arrives early with a smile and an attitude that is positive and contagious to those around her. There have been a few obstacles in the last 2 years with consistent staffing in Kristen's classroom, but she has never sacrificed the quality of what she does for her students. Kristen has earned the trust and the respect of her colleagues, and more importantly, the parents of her students. Kristen is a very important part of the Fir Grove family. Congratulations. And your Crystal Apple Award says your Fir Grove family sees your love, devotion, patience, and determination, and we love you for it. Do we have a round of applause for all of our honorees tonight? I want to thank each of you for coming to support your family and friends. We're going to take a short intermission for those of you that like to depart. We thank you again for coming, and happy holidays.
Very good.
Thank you. Where do you want us to sing? Oh, so great. Student rep.
That's good.
On the consent agenda and.
Yes. Thank you very much. We will now move forward with the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Now the opportunity for those of you that are here tonight to give public participation. We do have a time limit for all of the participation, 20 minutes. Each participant can speak for 2. Our superintendent will be the time monitor tonight. We do ask that if you come to speak, that you sign in your name and your address so we can follow up appropriately. Be there any public participation?
We have none online either.
Got one online?
Nope, none online.
None online?
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Fisher. I live out in Batesford and I have 5 grandkids that go to Rutherford Public School. And I just would like to express my concern about discipline in the classroom. My granddaughter is in 5th grade and recently told me that the class is being disrupted and the kids that are causing the disruption, the class ceases to go forward while the disruption is happening. And there's no apparent discipline that's happening. And so I would just express concern about that, and perhaps there's something that we could do to get discipline back in the classroom. Thank you.
Be sure and sign in before you leave, sir. Sign the sheet. Thank you very much. Be there another speaker?
Hey, Melissa, you want to double check the speakers are on there too? Is the mic on? Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to express my concern for a different matter at hand. And the matter at hand is holidays. And I figured it was a good time to talk about the holidays. There are several holidays that me nor my family participate in, and yet they are celebrated in the schools. Days are taken up rather than curriculum being taught to these kids. And we don't ever discuss what the roots of some of these holidays are, nor do most teachers or students even understand where these holidays come from. In general, just Veterans Day to Halloween to Christmas to you name it. And so I would just advise people to consider, is it the right thing to do to take up time of a student's day when they could learn reading, writing, and arithmetic with fairy tales, pagan holidays, and things that are some of which are evil in nature. And that's my concern today.
The chair will recognize any other speaker. We have none online. Public participation is now closed. We will move forward on our agenda. The first thing we have tonight is the presentation of our 2021-2022 audited financial statement. Director of Finance, Cheryl, would you take over?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Aria Bettinger, who is a partner at KDP, our auditing firm, and she is joined tonight by Ben Cohen, who is a senior manager with the firm. And now that I've introduced him, take it away. And turn on your microphone if you don't mind.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. We work for KDP Certified Public Accountants out of Medford, and we're here to present the results of the fiscal year 22 audit. So for those of you that have an audit report in front of you, I'm just going to refer to the pages that I'm currently looking at. If you want to follow along, feel free to. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. I'm going to start with an overview of the audit results. If you go to page 63 of the audit report, which is basically the second to last page, this is the summary of auditors' results. It kind of gives you an overview of everything. So looking at the first point, the auditor's report expresses an unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements of the district. This is the independent auditor's report from page A1. And an unmodified opinion is the highest form of assurance that we can give. So definitely a positive there. Below that, you'll see that there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses relating to the audit of the financial statements that are reported in the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance with other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. This is coming from page 56, and I'm just going to flip over there really quickly to give you a quick definition. So a deficiency in internal control exists when the design or operation of a control does not allow management or employees in the normal course of performing their assigned functions to prevent or detect and correct misstatements on a timely basis. A material weakness is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement of the entity's financial statements will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. A significant deficiency is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control that is less severe than a material weakness, yet important enough to merit attention by those charged with governance. And so again, we did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And there were no instances of non-compliance material to the basic financial statements of the district that were disclosed during the audit. Next, regarding federal awards, There were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control over major federal programs that were disclosed by the audit. Internal control over major federal programs and compliance is very similar to just the general definition of material weakness and significant deficiency. So I won't give you that definition, but if you would like to look, this is coming from the audit report on page 58. So the independent auditors report on compliance for each major program and on internal control over compliance required by the uniform guidance for major federal award programs for the district expressed an unmodified opinion. So again, highest form of assurance, again, a positive. And there were no audit findings that are required to be reported in accordance with the uniform guidance. Excuse me. Below that, you'll see that the programs tested as major programs for the single audit were the Education Stabilization Fund, or ESSER, Title I grants to local education agencies, and the IDEA cluster. And so the threshold for distinguishing type A and type B programs is $750,000. Essentially, what that means is if you expend more than $750,000 in federal dollars in a single program, you're going to require a single audit of that program once every 3 years. Below that, you'll see that the district did not qualify as a low-risk auditee under the criteria specified in the uniform guidance. What this results in is when an entity does not qualify as a low-risk auditee, it means that we are required to test 40% of federal expenditures rather than 20% for low risk. And the district received that determination based on page 64. In the prior year, there was a single audit finding. And I'll just kind of read the recap of that. The district was not in compliance with the uniform guidance, as it was noted that management of the district was not preparing time and effort distribution records and could not produce source documentation to support the time and effort applied to payroll expense that was charged to Title I. So again, based on this finding was the reason that you did not qualify as low risk. Happy to say that when there is a finding, we're required to test that same program the next year. So we tested Title I again this year. And in the current year, there were no findings. And we noted that all appropriate preparation of time and effort records was available. So definite improvement there, and sure will be good going forward. I'm going to quickly turn over to page 54. This is our independent auditors report required by Oregon state regulations. As part of obtaining reasonable assurance about whether the district's financial statements are free of material misstatement, we perform tests of its compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grants, including the provisions of Oregon revised statutes as specified in Oregon administrative rules of minimum standards for the audits of Oregon municipal corporations. And in connection with our audit, nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe the district was not in substantial compliance with provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grants. So again, a good thing there. I do want to highlight one other thing from the report. If you turn to page 13, this was a new standard that we implemented this year, or the district implemented rather. GASB 87 is new guidance for leases. And it was to better meet the information needs of financial statement users by improving accounting information and financial reporting for leases by governments. It increases the usefulness of government's financial statements. Under this statement, a lessee is required to recognize a lease liability and intangible right to use assets, and lessor is required to recognize a lease receivable and a deferred inflow of resources, thereby enhancing the relevant consistency of information about government's leasing activities. In English, that basically means that previously when there was a lease, we did not have to put anything on the balance sheet. We would just disclose what the required future payments for. This new standard said that for any lease longer than 1 year that was non-cancelable, you would have to record an asset on the balance sheet and a related liability. And there was an initial lease liability and right of use asset recorded in the amount of $175,000. If you'd like any more information on implementation of this new standard, you can see note 3 and note 8. That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions. I'll turn it over to Aria.
Nice job, Sharon.
Oh, we haven't gotten done with our.
On behalf of the board, I want to thank you for your safe drive from Medford to, go ahead.
I'm sorry, we're not
Go
going
ahead.
to.
Go ahead.
I want to know, you probably wish we were. We do have some required communication. You all have hard copies of it. That's sort of a summary of the audit itself. And then there's a communication that, you know, as your auditors, we're required to share with the board and management to kind of talk about each of our responsibilities and significant things for you guys to be aware of and keep in mind. I'll try and keep it brief. So essentially, at the beginning of this engagement, there was an engagement letter which summarized our responsibilities as well as the responsibilities of the district. I don't need to go into the details, but it basically just says, you know, our responsibility is to identify and assess the risk of material in the statements, on the financial statements, to consider your internal control when we develop our audit procedures, and evaluate the appropriateness of your policies, estimates, disclosures, which we'll get into a little bit. And then also, which is new this year, just consider if there's any conditions that raise any doubt about your ability to continue for a reasonable period of time. That's just a new thing they added for us to throw in there. So essentially, as far as your significant accounting policies, those are all outlined in note 1. The only one that's new or different this year is GASB 87 related to leases, which Ben mentioned. Otherwise, things are consistent year over year. Nothing, there's no accounting policy or anything that we question or it does not seem appropriate. There are significant accounting estimates throughout your financials, and those are implicit and kind of necessary. And we just call them out because there is a possibility, you know, because they are estimates. And so you need to be aware that those are included, and those involve property tax receivables, your single employer pension and other post-employment benefit liability, as well as your PERS pension and other post-employment liabilities, and accumulated depreciation and expense for your fixed assets. So we look at those estimates. We look at the underlying assumptions, the key factors used, and we determine those are reasonable and appropriate. There are certain key financial statement disclosures we like to point out. Long-term debt is note 4, and that's because it's significant. There's over $50 million in long-term debt. So we feel like that's important. The pension and retirement plan and other post-employment benefits are notes 9 and 10. And we also call those out due to their high degree of uncertainty and estimation that are involved, and they're also large dollar amounts. We did identify one misstatement that we wanted to call out. You know, through the course of the audit, there's always some misstatements that happen, both, you know, the district becomes aware of things that hadn't been recorded, and maybe we say, oh, what about this? And that's fine. That's part of the process. There was one related to the bond issuance costs that was not initially recorded. And if you have this in front of you, we talk a little bit more about, you know, our responsibilities related to internal control over financial reporting. And we just look at that. And this didn't rise to that level of significant deficiency or material weakness that Ben referred to, but it's just something for the board to be aware of as you're, you know, in your role. And essentially, there were debt issuance costs of $279,000 that were not recorded because when you issue those bonds, you didn't actually see that money. It was immediately expense, and so it just didn't hit the books. And it's just something to be aware of. It's pretty common when it's a non-cash paid transaction that it sometimes gets missed. So we wanted to call that out just so you pay particular attention to transactions which do not directly affect cash. this was an unusual situation, but we wanted to make you aware.
And Aria, can I just
Yes.
point out that you guys did submit a adjusting journal entry to the district, and the district has reported those issuance costs on the revenue
Yes.
of that non-cash transaction.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, at this point, there are no unrecorded adjustments that unless they're perhaps clearly trivial, and I can't even say that those exist. We don't know, but yes, all adjustments have been agreed upon and posted, and we feel very comfortable with the way the financials currently stand. We did not have any disagreements with management. Management does sign a representation letter to take ownership of the financials and that they've shared everything with the auditors. And that is basically a quick summary. We really appreciate the opportunity to be your auditors. Thank you again, Cheryl, for all of your hard work. Really appreciate it. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions by any directors? On behalf of the board, I want to thank you very much for driving from Medford up to share and keep us informed.
Okay, you can think of it, then I'll ask the question.
Oh, you go ahead and ask questions.
Okay, so this that was not reported, is that money just in the last fiscal year, or was that when the bonds were first issued, or?
Yeah, in the issuance of the bonds, there were these costs associated with it, the underwriters fees and things like that. So it was part of that transaction of getting the bonds and then establishing the site account for PERS. And so it happened during the fiscal year under audit, and it's already been corrected.
So it has to do with the PERS rebonds, not with the bond issue that the election failed.
No.
Yeah, okay.
No, we sold about 32.5 million dollars worth of bonds. We booked the proceeds net of the underwriter. So they go out, they sell bonds, they send a big check to PERS on our behalf. They pay themselves and their related peeps. And that's the part that was not booked. The only part that was booked was the actual 32.3 million that was sent to PERS.
And we should have showed the services of those people as some sort of a benefit to us to offset that.
Yeah.
Technically, it would have been revenue and expense. It would have also just been a wash.
Wash,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is, I should say, not would have been,
Yeah.
because it is recorded.
Thank you, Director Lee. Any other questions?
Not this time.
Well, as an opportunity, when we go home and sit down and look at these books and dream on them, we may have some questions. If we do, we'll direct them to Cheryl to get to you. But I do want to thank you very much for giving us the information on a timely basis and keeping us informed and letting us know that Cheryl and her staff are doing a great job in layman's terms. Because if it was something material, we would have to be approached. We thank you for your service, and if you'd like to leave to start your trip back home, feel free to do so. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
Next item on our list is the Phoenix Charter School check-in progress report. We welcome the leadership from Phoenix School.
Thank you, Director Johnson, and thank you to the board for having us here tonight for our quarterly check-in. Kat is going to do most of the presentation tonight. She's given you guys some significant plan documents in your packet that she's been working on. But I'm just going to start with just some general updates that were also noted in your packet. We have been continuing to work with the district leadership on the 5D instructional framework. There are continually monthly professional development sessions led by our own faculty and the principal, and we're seeing some gains with that. Also, I want to note it has been very warm and welcoming to the secondary administrators meetings. Kat and I have been a part of some great conversations, some issues that are facing all schools, I believe, in our community around student commercial tobacco use, most commonly in the form of vaping. And we're very excited to be at the table with our community partners, Adapt Integrated Healthcare, and with our partners at Roseburg High School and Joe Lane Middle School and Fremont Middle School, working as a team to create a collective message for Roseburg households. And so that has been really productive work, in my opinion. And Phoenix was awarded an Oregon Health Authority grant, as I note there, to have a wellness coordinator, and we'll be working on some preventative measures with our school and some community partners. And so, Kat?
So I included, well, I'll go over our attendance and engagement updates. We have an incentive program that we put together for attendance, as well as a 5-5-5 plan that I included in your packet. It kind of is an overview that we are providing the students and their parents on how we're approaching attendance issues. And we are, as far as the high school success updates, we're continuing to work with the students to individualize their learning plans. Staff are exploring different ways to meet our students who are working full-time but still want to complete their course requirements. We are working on an internal database called the Phoenix Flight Plan, and it's referred to in the performance plan that I'll talk about in a moment. Academic achievement updates. I'm really happy that we are able to increase our testing rates for kids that are coming in to, I believe we're at 78%. Yes, 78% tested, and that number kind of fluctuates as we get more students. We're getting students in all the time. So now our standard policy is when they come in, they have 2 weeks that they're working with a specific pathways teacher, and during that time they get that that assessment, which is, it measures their math and ELA, so that we know where to place them correctly, and if we need to make some adjustments, we can. This new trimester, we also added in some extra English and math courses. We did a credit recovery course that we can help move some of those kids into credit recovery classes instead of just merging them all with the 9th grade English, all with the 10th grade English. We're kind of separating them out and having smaller groups. And we did that with math as well. We have some the regular math classes, but then we have some intervention classes so that we were able to spread out those students. As you saw last time, and as you can see still, we're finding that we have a really large population that are behind and that need urgent intervention. And so that was our strategy for this trimester. Included in this packet is a performance growth plan, because last time that I was here, I agreed that the numbers that we were seeing in this dashboard were not what I want to see. So, so what I did is I took the time to kind of evaluate where we are and figure out where we needed to be. So you can see the document that I sent you, the 3 areas that we're focusing on. We're really in the identification stage where we're noticing what needs improvement. And then this document will help guide you guys as well as we make growth, so that you can see the areas that we're making growth and what's been done. Because I kind of heard that from you as well, like, what are you going to do about it? Well, this will be the roadmap that shows what we're doing. In this last column, I did mention this is the status update where we're at now, and you can see in a lot of the areas we're just emerging. But I really feel confident that with a plan in place, we'll be able to make growth in all of those areas. There's a lot of content to go through, and hopefully you guys were able to go through it a little bit before this meeting. So do you have any questions about this performance growth plan? You want, I can go, do you want me to go ahead and go over it a little bit, or kind of summarize it? Yeah. Okay. So the first one is how we're going to demonstrate. I
think we can.
Oh, you mentioned it.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't
Yeah,
hear you
thank you.
correctly. Okay, great.
Any follow-up questions or?
I go, I just like to say, it's nice to see all this organized and put out on the paper and plan. Especially the flyers and on the parents 5-5-5 plan. I mean, just to come up with a system to attack the problem, you know, rather than. Yeah, it's nice to see that. Good.
Yeah, it looks like you have a great start, so thank you.
All right.
We want to thank you very much for bringing the report. We look forward to your next report in February.
Okay.
And we get that timely, we give us a chance to review it. And if there's any questions from this presentation and the next one, we'll bring it to your attention. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson, and happy holidays to all of you and your families.
Next item on the agenda tonight is item number 3, an award design and engineering service contract for the Eastwood Elementary School seismic upgrade. Director Cheryl?
Thank you. In your package, you'll find a memo from Denny Austin, our purchasing manager, who outlines our bid process, how we sought bids, competitive bids for the engineering and design services of Eastwood Elementary seismic. We received about a $2.5 million grant, and we plan to work on that in the summer of 2024. So I'm asking you guys to go ahead without, if you have any questions, please ask them. If not, this is to award the design services to ZCS Engineering. They are the engineering firm we worked on pretty much with all of our seismic grants.
I just had one question when I was reading at the beginning of the meeting. It's for Eastwood, but it said on there that there was also something at the high school. Or did I read that wrong?
You didn't read it wrong on the original findings report that went out. I had not changed all of the names on the findings, and so
Just at Eastwood.
it is all just at Eastwood.
So this is a year, so 23, 24, is what you said.
Mhm.
So how many projects do we have going on?
We just finished Fremont seismic rehabilitation. This summer, we will be working on a smaller grant, just the multipurpose room at Joe Lane. And that's about a $1.2 million project. And then Eastwood will do it the following summer.
So how many millions have we got over the last?
I put that in, that's what? Yeah, that sounds right.
And that's a lot of.
Over the last 10 years.
last 10 years, 10
We've done
years.
seismic projects at the main gym at RHS. We did a somewhat school-wide seismic project at Green Elementary, targeted at Melrose Elementary, a good portion of Fullerton and Hillcrest. And then we've now just finished Fremont. Fremont was a $2.5 million grant, and it's to life safety standards, not just, immediate occupancy as well as life safety, as will Joe Lane and Eastwood.
Well, I would move that we approve the proposal involving ZCS and direct you to negotiate a contract with ZCS.
Is there a second? It has been moved and second to approve. Is there any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Let the record show that the motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the resolution 22-23-11 appropriating the farm to school education report. Cheryl, I believe you're up again.
Again, sorry. So the only work I've done on this is to type up this resolution, which will notify you guys that we've received a fairly sizable grant, almost $100,000 from farm to school. And that will appropriate the funds to allow the district to spend them. But if you have any questions about the grant, the people who did do the work in applying for that grant are here with us tonight, at least one of them, maybe two. If you guys have.
Tell us about it.
My name is Debbie Price, and I'd like to introduce to you Aaron Maidlow back here, and Kevin South, who is really our garden champion, and I'm going to let him speak to that. And Reverend Johnson, I'll give these to you because they aren't part of your board packet, and then you can decide if they need to be dispersed out. So go ahead.
Well, first of all,
Like
I want
it.
to say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having us here tonight. And I'm very excited because I'm a third grade teacher So I very rarely get to address this many people that are taller than 4 feet. So actually, what I'm really excited about is this opportunity before us where we can really educate, love, and care for the students and families that we service better than we already do. So the page you have before you, or it's coming around, on one side is a list of fast facts about the grant and things that we intend to do with it. On the back side, because I'm a representative from Fullerton 4, there is a proposed map of our updated garden once it's completed. So taking a look at those fast facts, things that you now know is that we've been awarded from the Oregon Department of Education 900, or no, sorry, not 900, that would be even better, not $98,320 from the Oregon Department of Education Farm to School grant. There are 4 schools that applied jointly: Fullerton, Winchester, Melrose, and Fir Grove. As far as the things that the grant will actually address, specifically at Fullerton with the garden revitalization and improvement, we have a school garden fence that needs to be repaired, completing garden beds for each grade level, including our TAP program. Completed outdoor classrooms, things like seating, tables, an outdoor whiteboard, and a covered area so that teachers can actually teach in the outdoors, not just for a garden lesson, but for any lesson. We would be growing produce, purchasing seeds and plants that students can grow and sample during the school year. It would fund agricultural field trips to local farms and the surrounding agricultural programs. We would host more fruit and veggie tastings and also provide additional education opportunities for our students. So there's quite a bit that we'll be able to do with this money, and I'm just really happy to get to be a part of this program and to work with these awesome people to serve our kids even better. So
I just want to give a lot of credit to Kevin for his hard work and effort.
thank you so much. Nice job.
It is an action item where we need a motion to adopt the resolution. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let the record show motion carried. Next item on the agenda is policy K/L, district/community relationship for the second reading and adoption. Director Freeman?
Yeah, I'd like to just take a moment to wish all the directors lots of laughter and love during this holiday season for you and your family. In front of you is the second reading for policy KL, which deals with the district and community relations. If you don't have any questions or corrections to the policies, I would ask if you put it in front of the board for adoption.
I move that we approve policy section K and L for a second reading.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Ready for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The next item was something that was added late to the agenda is the consider the school calendar for the 2023-2024 school year. Director Freeman?
Yeah, thank you. So our calendar advisory committee met this week, and we reviewed 2 different calendars that are in front of you. One basically starts school before Labor Day, and the other one starts school after Labor Day. What I would like you to know is that both calendars meet our contractual obligations for all 4 of our groups. I would like to point out that on both calendars, that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so November 22nd, on your calendar, it's showing a non-contract day. That is for the 3 groups that are not 260-day employees. For 260-day employees, that will be a work day. And the reason that has to be a work day is because this calendar coming up is an anomaly. I've never seen it, or at least don't remember when this happened before, but this is a leap year that's coming up, and surprisingly, there's only 260 work days in the calendar. And the people that figured it out, said it has to do where the Saturdays and Sundays and the holidays fall. To use the Monday and Fridays as holidays, so that takes up actual work days. So with that, we don't have any room to have our 260-day employees not work that day. Of course, they can take a vacation day if they would like to extend that like the rest of our staff. So the committee talked about conferences and certain days moving around the planning days. And this is the proposal that they came up with that they would like to put in front of you. They really didn't have it. We talked about pros and cons both ways, starting the school year before Labor Day and starting after Labor Day. And really, I don't think it's anything different than what you're going to come up with. Some of the discussion around starting before Labor Day centered around heat and air quality. Some of the concerns about starting after Labor Day really had to do with June and how long school and students go into the month of June. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to you for a decision.
The chair will recognize anyone that has a discussion.
Well, I had a little communication with Director Bishop as well today. Both of us are in a unique position where we have secondary students attending in the district. And I think that both of us favor the earlier start. In part because OSAA regulations allow practices and things to start. So a lot of kids and families are already tied to the school by about the second week of August. You can't really go on vacation because your kids have mandatory band and cross country and football and all of those things have started. So I think from the perspective of a secondary parent in the district, the schools are kind of already up and going a little bit prior to that Labor Day start. And on the flip side, it is nicer to have the kids out in June. I mean, obviously, it's a nuanced issue. And we have to be aware of that heat index. I know I have the official app on my phone, and there were multiple times last year that I was tracking that and watching that with our staff. I would say that my hope would be that our next bond is successful and we're able to just improve some air quality and get some air conditioning in all of our buildings. That would be my hope, so that this isn't a long-term issue that we're constantly saying, we don't know if we can hold school because of air quality and heat. I hope that our next bond would just be successful and we would be able to support our students and staff that way. But as it lies, I would definitely support the draft that starts before Labor Day.
Director Cotton.
First of all, when I was in business, I love leap year. It's got an extra day, but cash. So, good. My question is, since the last board meeting, you took all that up and everything. Are we still looking at doing something different with professional development or whatever it's called? Or is it just going to go the way it is? Because if we're still looking at changing, I'm just wondering, if we get this out so our parents can see, but what's the harm of waiting a month or so? If something's going to be changing, I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we're still in that phase of working through with staff to see what they need and some design issues, and that likely will move into the spring. Now this, I think traditionally calendar has been, I think the January meeting, at least since I've been here, it's typically the vote is there, but I don't know that we're going to have a decision on a different professional development model by January. I understand the concern of will this change if that does change. And I think we're probably safe to move forward on this calendar the way, one of these decisions for this next year.
I'm a sort of a traditionalist, and I'm afraid I always think of summer vacation as ending at Labor Day. And I've also, over the years, I've drafted a lot of divorce and childcare, child planning documents, most of which rest kind of on the assumption that school's going to start after Labor Day. You've got summer vacation, and you assign Labor Day maybe to the other parent as a leap into the school year starting. My long-term hope has been for many, many years that we'd be able to find a way to give kids longer school years and get more schooling into them. But always here, we're balancing the same number of days. I tend to just be enough of a traditionalist that
Yeah.
the favorite Wednesday.
I guess that actually also reminds me. I don't know. I guess also. I think as a teacher, and there are teachers who are currently teaching, and it's been a few years for me, but I also think that an August day or a September day actually has higher educational value than a June day. Especially for things like AP tests and end of year testing. I think that's my other. You reminded me of my other insight, is that I do think your kids learn more early in the year than they do. I don't know, but that's me. Obviously, we can differ and get along.
This year,
Before.
before.
Yep.
So I remember us having this discussion last year, but don't remember what the outcome was.
I think, if I don't remember, this would the last at least 2 years have been before. I believe so, yeah, and I think 3 years ago, we were an after.
Yes, I suspect that what happens is the kids learn better when they're first excited to be going back
Yeah.
to school, and at
Well,
the
and-
end of the school year, they're looking forward to vacation and
And like all of the concurrent enrollment classes, they have to take finals on the UCC calendar. And so those classes and AP classes, you take your AP tests. And then. It takes highly motivated students, especially juniors and seniors, to be like, let's learn more. It's June, I'm graduating, but it's.
I remember my kids said it's February and graduated.
Exactly, yeah. I'm on my second year of having a senior, and I feel like we're already sludging through it. It's fine.
All the same old arguments. I don't know. they're
Yeah,
gonna come
no,
up with any
we're not gonna
solutions.
come, there's not a perfect solution.
As chairperson, are there any other discussion regarding the calendar? I would like to make one comment that there is a tremendous amount of logistics that have to be done and coordinated. So the earlier we get a schedule and process, the more efficient we can be getting the school year done. So let's see if we can come to a consensus. All those in favor of an early start date, show of hands. And later date? I think the motion by majority carried for the earliest start date. So it will be an early start date. Let the record show we'll start early.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Director Bishop will be pleased.
Well, I'm like you, when a student came and we do a makeup a snow day in June. And the attention span is different.
Yeah.
It is now time for our superintendent report.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Appreciate the opportunity to address the board tonight in a very short and prompt report tonight. I actually want to talk a little bit about board leadership tonight. Most of my message is about board leadership. In 2020, the Washington Post put an interesting article out. They looked at the 5 descriptor words in a poll that described the year 2020. Okay, and here they are: exhausting, lost, chaotic, surreal, and relentless. Those were the ones from 2020. In 2021, the words were tumultuous, lonely, exhausting made the cut again, contentious, and divided. I haven't seen words for 2022 yet. I'm not sure when those are finalized, probably the end of the year. But I think it's really important as a community member who lives here and someone who works for this board to spend a few minutes and to thank the board for the words I would characterize our board by. And this has really been through some really interesting times in our, not just community's history, but in the history of our country. When I think about the board, words like consistent, reliable, steady, thoughtful, and focused come to mind. And we really have made some significant gains and improvements, even in a time in which much of the country has really struggled to have differences of thought and opinion. And I really want to highlight the fact of how appreciative I am that the board has had a steady hand, whether it's a discussion about the mascot, the pandemic, reopening school, masking, curriculum, professional learning, whatever things that the board's been dealing with. I really want to say how much I appreciate that. And if we look back a little bit, it wasn't that long ago that we were in March of 2020 mandated to close schools, and we were dealing with the beginning of a worldwide pandemic in which I didn't completely understand what would be happening, but really much of our community was really struggled immensely as schools weren't open, as kids didn't have the things they normally have. They didn't have the care that they normally had. They didn't have food. They didn't have a place they could go and feel seen and heard, and a place that's warm, the predictability of youth. And it's really worth noting, if we go back just a few years, we were the first 6A school district in the state of Oregon to open up again. And a lot of that really rests on the board's responsibility, their reliability. We were able to do that, I think, because of the consistent nature in which the board approached the pandemic. And even looking forward, I just noted a couple things in here. Really around, we've seen an increase, an unfortunate increase over the last 10 or 15 years with the safety in our schools across the country, a rash of what seems like it doesn't make the news for very long anymore when there's a school shooting, an aggressive threat to schools. And another area which I want to thank the board is just the consistency around, we need to improve safety. We tried for a bond in 2020 and 2022, both of which focused on keeping our kids safe. But the board, even though those weren't successful, said we will find a way if we can't pass a bond. And so we've seen the addition of a district security team and securing our buildings and perimeter fencing and a visitor management process, vestibules coming on board, moving students out of buildings into safer spots. And so I really appreciate that. The board's focus on financial stewardship, on making sure we're in a good spot in terms of our policies, matching state and local policy, mitigating that liability, and making sure we have policies that support our children and families, updating curriculum and strategic planning have all been areas in which I really want to thank the board. You have a relatively thankless job. You don't get paid much in this role. It costs you money. That's actually true. Yet seem to take heat for a lot of things in which really wasn't the genesis of the decision doesn't always come your way. But I really want to just thank the board for, again, your steady, consistent hand in guiding the district over the last several years. And thank you for the work that we hope that you continue to do in the future. With that, I just want to wish the entire board a restful, joyous holiday season. Is just spend time with those you love. And thank you for letting us do the same thing in our organization with our own staff and children. Thank you.
Any questions for the superintendent? If there be none, we thank you very kindly for the timeliness in your report. It's time now for our individual director's report. Director Larson.
Sorry to be late, but the Roseburg Indians swam to success. Their second home meet, soundly beating North Medford. It's my job to do all the scoring on the computer, and I'm literally the only one that knows how to do it. So I have to be there. Right. No, I have integrity, Charles. We didn't win every race. Just the ones my kids were in. No, it was great. I did just want to say it was kind of a sweet moment this morning. if I can share something of a religious, personal religious nature, this morning as my children were leaving my home, my 14-year-old son offered the prayer this morning, and he unprompted prayed for his teachers. And I just was really impacted by the fact that he just recognizes that relationship and appreciates that relationship. And I'm grateful for the people who spend their days blessing the lives of my children and our family. So it was kind of just a sweet thing that I wanted to share. I am grateful for the opportunity I've had to serve on this board, and particularly for my fellow board members. It's just really been an honor to work with them, and yeah, I hope everyone has a restful holiday season with their family. I know I'm excited for my college student who flies home in 2 days to get home.
Thank you very much, Director Strickland.
I don't
Have anything today?
Thank you very much, Director Lee.
Well, last night I had observed that there was going to be a band concert at the high school. And we have historical relations with the band. I thought that sounded kind of interesting. I persuaded Susan that we should go. I told her that I saw that there was a basketball game supposed to be starting at 6:45. And the band was at 7, so we left the house at 6:54 to drive 3 minutes across to the parking lot. And I was it's sort of it's invigorating to see all that interest. The parking lot was just absolutely jammed full. And we were just about 25 cars driving around. I did eventually find 2 parking places, both of them marked for compact cars. And in both instances, on both sides of the open parking spot, there were oversized 4-wheel drive giant pickup trucks hinging into the compact parking spot. So that if I had something, I wouldn't be able to get out of the car anyway. So we didn't get to go to the band concert. We went back home and just talked about community excitement there is. It fills up that parking lot. I was pleased with that.
You would have had a hard time finding a seat in the auditorium as well. I will tell you from personal experience.
Park in the bus loading zone. It's the only way to go after hours.
It was packed.
Director Cotton.
First of all, happy holidays, everyone. It's been an amazing 29 years serving as a board member. It's probably one of the top 3 or 4, besides my kids and my marriage, honor that I have had. And I think people need to realize that we're not the enemy. We want to work with our staff and our students. And we're not always perfect, but it's been really fun. I've retired almost 2 years ago, and I'm to the point now where I'm a little bored. So I just wanted the board to know that I've signed on to work with Young Life, and got all the background checks done. So I'm looking forward to that. See that if you don't know what it is, I'm more than happy to tell you about. We missed the band concert last night. I'd love to have seen it. But we went to the UAC place on Friday night for Humbug, and then last night it was Charlie Brown. About 20 kids were in that play. It was amazing. Their voices, young kids and their voices are just so beautiful. There's so much good going on in this community. And we have such talented people. It's amazing. And so if you ever get a chance to go to a UAC play, you should go. So happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you very much, Director. As the chairperson, I will go last. I take this opportunity to sing an old song. Remember, Jesus is the reason for the season. Have a great holiday, everybody. And we thank you very much for your participation and your support. If there be the next board meeting regularly scheduled will be at Hillcrest Elementary on January the 11th, 2023. So if I say I'll see you next year, I'll see you next year. Good night, everyone. We'll be about a 5-minute intermission and we'll have an executive session.